Hi everyone. Alright, so I'm going to continue reading Fantastic Mr. Fox. So where we left off, we had just found out Mr. Fox's plan was to get to the farmers' houses to get food and bring it back through the tunnels. They arrived at Bargis's chicken house and got some chickens to bring back, and they're going to have a feast. Many of the other animals are also starving because of the farmers on the hill, and they're going to have one huge feast. Alright, Chapter 13, Bunce's Giant Storehouse. My dear Foxy, cried Badger, what in the world happened to your tail? Don't talk about it, please, said Mr. Fox. It's a painful subject. They were digging at the new tunnel. They dug on in silence. Badger was a great digger, and the tunnel went forward at a terrific pace now that he was lending a paw. Soon they were crouching underneath yet another wooden floor. Mr. Fox grinned shyly, showing sharp white teeth. If I'm not mistaken, my dear Badger, he said, we are now underneath the farm which belongs to that nasty little pot-bellied dwarf Buns. We are, in fact, directly underneath the most interesting part of the farm. Ducks and geese? Cried the small foxes, licking their lips. Juicy, tender ducks and big fat geese? Exactly, said Mr. Fox. But how in the world can you know where we are? Asked Badger. Mr. Fox grinned again, showing ever more white teeth. Look, he said, I know my way around these farms blindfold. For me, it's just as easy below ground as it is above it. He reached high and pushed up one wooden floorboard, then another. He poked his head through the gap. Yes, he shouted, jumping up into the room above. I've done it again. I've hit it smack on the nose, right in the bullseye. Come on, Luck. Quickly, Badger and the three small foxes scrambled up after him. They stopped and stared. They stood and gaped. They were so overwhelmed they couldn't speak, for what they now saw was a fox's dream, a badger's dream, a paradise for hungry animals. This, my dear old Badger, proclaimed Mr. Fox, is Bunce's mighty storehouse. All his finest stuff is stored in here before he sends it off to the market. Against all the four walls of the great room, stacked in cupboards and piled upon shelves reaching from floor to ceiling, were thousands and thousands of the finest and fattest ducks and geese, plucked and ready for roasting. And up above, dangling from the rafters, there must have been at least 100 smoked hams and 50 sides of bacon. Just feast your eyes on that, cried Mr. Fox, dancing up and down. What do you think of it, eh? Pretty good grub? Suddenly, as though springs had been released in their legs, the three hungry small foxes and the ravenously hungry badger sprang forward to grab the luscious food. Stop! Ordered Mr. Fox. This is my party, so I shall do the choosing. The others fell back, licking their chops. Mr. Fox began prowling around the storehouse, examining the glorious display with an expert eye. A thread of saliva slid down one side of his jaw and hung suspended in midair, then snapped. We mustn't overdo it, he said. Mustn't give the game away. Mustn't let them know what we've been up to. We must be neat and tidy and take just a few of the choicest morsels. So to start with, we shall have 4 plump young ducks. He took them from the shelf. Oh, how lovely and fat they are. No wonder Bunce gets a special price for them at the market. All right, Badger, lend me a hand to get them down. You children can help as well. There we go. Goodness me, look how your mouths are watering. And now I think we've had better have a few geese. 3 will be quite enough. We'll take the biggest. Oh my, you'll never see finer geese than these in a king's kitchen. Gently does it. That's the way. And what about a couple nice smoked hams? I adore smoked ham, don't you, Badger? Fetch me that step ladder, will you please? Mr. Fox climbed up the ladder and handed down 3 magnificent hams. And do you like bacon, Badger? I'm mad about bacon, cried Badger, dancing with excitement. Let's have a slice of bacon. Our side of bacon. That Big one up there. And carrots, Dad, said the smallest of the three small foxes. We must take some of those carrots. Don't be a twerp, said Mr. Fox. You know we never eat things like that. It's not for us, Dad, it's for the rabbits. They only eat vegetables. Oh, my goodness me, you're right, cried Mr. Fox. What a thoughtful little fellow you are. Take 10 bunches of carrots. Soon all this lovely loot was lying in a neat heap upon the floor. Small foxes crouched close, their noses twitching, their eyes shining like stars. And now, said Mr. Fox, we shall have to borrow from our friend Buns 2 of those useful push-carts over in the corner. He and Badger fetched the push-carts, and the ducks and geese and hams and bacon were loaded on them. Quickly, the push-carts were lowered through the hole in the floor. The animals slid down after them. Back in the tunnel, Mr. Fox again pulled the floorboards very carefully into place so that no one could see they had been moved. My darlings, he said, pointing to 2 of the 3 small foxes, take a cart each and run back as fast as you can to your mother. Give her my love and tell her we are having guests for dinner. The badgers, the moles, the rabbits, and the weasels. Tell her it must be a truly great feast, and tell her the rest of us will be home as soon as we've done one more little job. Yes, Dad, right away, Dad, they answered, and they grabbed a trolley each and went rushing off down the tunnel. Chapter 14. Badger Has Doubts. Just one more visit, cried Mr. Fox, and I bet I'll know where that'll be, said the only small fox left. He was the smallest of them all. Where? Asked Badger. Well, said the small fox, we've been to Bogus and we've been to Buns, but we haven't been to Bean. It must be Bean. You are right, said Mr. Fox, but what you don't know is which part of Bean's place we are about to visit. Which? They both said together. Aha, said Mr. Fox. Just wait and see. They were digging as they talked. The tunnel was going forward fast. Suddenly Badger said, Doesn't this worry you just a tiny bit, Foxy? Worry me, said Mr. Fox. What? All this stealing? Mr. Fox stopped digging and stared at Badger as though he had gone completely dotty. My dear old furry frump, he said, don't you know anyone in the whole world who wouldn't swipe a few chickens if his children were starving to death? There was a short silence while Badger thought deeply about this. You are far too respectable, said Mr. Fox. There is nothing wrong with being respectable, Badger said. Look, said Mr. Fox, Bogus and Buns and Bean are out to kill us. You realize that, I hope? I do, Foxy, I do indeed, said the gentle Badger. But we're not going to stoop to their level. We don't want to kill them. I should hope not, indeed, said Badger. We wouldn't dream of it, said Mr. Fox. We shall simply take a little food here and there to keep us and our families alive, right? I suppose we'll have to, said Badger. If they want to be horrible, then let them, said Mr. Fox. We down here are decent, peace-loving people. Badger laid his head on one side and smiled at Mr. Fox. Foxy, he said, I love you. Thank you, said Mr. Fox, and now let's get on with digging. 5 minutes later, Badger's front paws hit against something flat and hard. What on earth is this? He said. It looks like a solid stone wall. He and Mr. Fox scraped away the soil. It was a wall, but it was built of bricks, not stones. The wall was right in front of them, blocking their way. Now, who in the world would build a wall under the ground? Asked Badger. Very simple, said Mr. Fox. It's the wall of an underground room, and if I'm not mistaken, it is exactly what I'm looking for. Chapter 15. Bean's Secret Cider Cellar. Mr. Fox examined the wall carefully. He saw that the cement between the bricks was old and crumbly, so he loosened a brick without much trouble and pulled it away. Suddenly, out from the hole where the bricks had been, there popped a small, sharp face with whiskers. Go away, it snapped. You can't come in here. It's private. Good Lord, said Badger. It's Brett. You saucy beast, said Mr. Fox. I should have guessed we'd find you down here somewhere. Go away, shrieked Rat. Go on, beat it. This is my private pinch. Shut up, said Mr. Fox. I will not shut up, shrieked Rat. This is my place. I got here first. Mr. Fox gave a brilliant smile, flashing his white teeth. My dear rat, he said softly, I am hungry. I am a hungry fellow, and if you don't hop it quickly, I shall eat you up in one gulp. That did it. Rat popped back fast out of sight. Mr. Fox laughed and began pulling more bricks out of the wall. When he had made a biggish hole, he crept through it. Badger and the smallest fox followed him in. They found themselves in a vast, damp, gloomy cellar. This is it, cried Mr. Fox. This is what? Said Badger. This place is empty. Where are the turkeys? Asked the smallest fox, staring into the gloom. I thought Bean was a turkey man. He is a turkey man, said Mr. Fox, but we're not after turkeys now. We've got plenty of food. Then what do we need? Take a good look around, said Mr. Fox. Don't you see anything that interests you? Badger and the smallest fox peered into the half-darkness, and their eyes became accustomed to the gloom. They began to see what looked like a whole lot of big glass jars standing upon shelves around the walls. They went closer. They were jars. There were hundreds of them, and upon each one was written one word, cider. The smallest fox leaped high in the air. Oh, Dad, he cried out, look what we found. It's cider. Exactly, said Mr. Fox. Tremendous, shouted Badger. Bean's secret cider cellar, said Mr. Fox. But go carefully, my dears, don't make a noise. This cellar is right underneath the farmhouse itself. Cider, said Badger, is especially good for badgers. We take it as medicine. 1 large glass 3 times a day with meals and another at bedtime. It will make the feast into a banquet, said Mr. Fox. While they were talking, the smallest fox had sneaked a jar off the shelf and taken a gulp. Wow, he gasped. Wowee! You must understand this was not the ordinary weak fizzy cider one buys at the store. It was the real stuff, a home-brewed fiery liqueur that burned in your throat and boiled in your stomach. Ah, gasped small fox, this is some cider. That's quite enough of that, said Mr. Fox, grabbing the jar and putting it to his own lips. He took a tremendous gulp. It's miraculous, he whispered, fighting for breath. It's fabulous, it's beautiful. It's my turn, said Badger, taking the jar and tilting his head well back. The cider gurgled and bumbled down his throat. It's like melted gold, he gasped. Oh, Foxy, it's like drinking sunbeams and rainbows. You're poaching, shrieked Rat. Put that down at once. There'll be none left for me. Rat was perched upon the highest shelf in the cellar, peering out from behind a huge jar. There was a small rubber tube inserted in the neck of the jar, and Rat was using the tube to suck out the cider. You're drunk, said Mr. Fox. Mind your own business, shrieked the Rat, and if you great clumsy brutes come messing about in here, well, I'll be caught. Get out and leave me to sip my cider in peace. At the moment they heard a woman's voice calling out of the house above them. Hurry up and get that cider, Mabel, the voice called. You know Mr. Bean doesn't like to be kept waiting, especially when he's been out all night in the tent. The animals froze. They stayed absolutely still and their ears pricked, their bodies tense. Then they heard the sound of a door being opened. The door was at the top of the flight of the stone steps leading down from the house to the cellar. And now someone was starting to come down those steps. Alright, well, I'm going to leave it there, and we'll have to come see what happens next tomorrow. Thanks for watching.